Hey everyone, what is going on? So we are battling another subscriber in the Sinister Cup, and his team will be Probopass, Mawile, Steelix, Poliwrath, Alolan Marowak, and Claydol, and my team is going to be Poliwrath, Alolan Marowak, Steelix, Dusclops, Mawile, and Bronzong. And this is going to be my updated finalized team. Now obviously things could always change, but I'm really liking this team. I would say if I'm able to get like a Cross-Chop Cross-Chop Primeape, or a Cresselia for the Great League, I might decide to add those on the team. I definitely want to try them out. But aside from that, I might change up some moves. For example, I might want to try out Dynamic Punch or Hydro Pump on Poliwrath. But overall, I feel like this is a very solid team, and I felt like it was important to do another finalized team video, especially since my last one came out literally the day of the new update, I believe, when they changed it. So that was like counting the old update before they debuffed Power Up Punch or they increased Psychic, and you guys get the drill. So gave new moves like Thunder Fang, Fire Fang, Alolan Marowak, and Steelix. So aside from that, I feel like this is a pretty solid team. I like using all of these Pokemon. I love Dusclops. It's a really safe switch into most of the meta. Obviously you can't really switch into a Bastiodon or a Probopass if your opponent has it, but I feel like Steelix will be a little bit more common, and if it switches into a Steelix, that's okay. It's not great, but yeah, just because it's tanky and it charges up super fast. I do have Hex on my Dusclops. Let me know if you prefer Hex or Feint Attack, but I'm liking Hex because it charges up its moves in 4 turns, so 4 Hex to get to Fire Punch as well as Shadow Punch, so I'm really liking Hex right now on Dusclops. And then I have the Fire Fang on Alolan Marowak, and on Steelix I do have that Dragon Tail, just because it charges up so fast. And we do go ahead and win that one, so that was a nice game. And thank you for requesting the battles. I certainly appreciate it. Always a pleasure. So for this battle, he leads with Claydol and I do lead with my Mawile, so I'm going to have to pull the switch immediately into my Bronzong because I cannot stay in against Poliwrath. He'll get off the Power Up Punch. Now because they debuffed Power Up Punch, we're actually able to win this a lot more comfortably, whereas it was actually relatively close before they debuffed Power Up Punch, just because I'm neutral to it and Power Up Punch charges up so fast. But now we're able to survive it. I do bluff with the Psy Shock, and he does fall for it. Unfortunately, not able to get to a Bulldoze, though. And I do bring in my Poliwrath. He switches into Claydol. Gonna go ahead and immediately throw that Ice Punch. I didn't expect a shield, as we didn't get it. Actually, didn't really do that much because it's not buffed up from Power Up Punch. But that's okay because I switch into Mawile. He brings out his Mawile. And he's going to go ahead and get off a Power Up Punch against me, so I'll get off my Power Up Punch immediately. So both of us now currently have a boosted up Mawile, but I still have a Pokemon in the back as well as 2 shields, so I was feeling pretty confident about my position. We actually get off another Power Up Punch, and his shield will go up, and I'm just going to go ahead and let him feint down my Mawile so I could bring in my Poliwrath, and we actually win without using a single shield. I wasn't planning on doing that, it's just the way it happened. But yeah, picking up a Sinnoh Stone, I wish we could get Unova Stones, don't you? But we can't, not yet. But jumping into the next match, we do have a Steelix mirror match. Now, according to Jimmy Banks, shinies do more damage, so I should 100% win this. I'm just messing around, guys. But we get off an Earthquake, hoping that he would think it was a bluff, which I guess is what happened because he didn't shield. And because we got the Earthquake off against him, I decided not to risk it and throw up my shield. And luckily I did because it was an Earthquake. So I do charge up quite a bit of extra energy and fire off a Crunch against his Steelix, trying to knock it out, as it does. So pretty good position. The only thing I would say is we are down 1 shield. But that is okay. We throw up the bait, throwing up a Crunch, trying to catch the shield, as we do. So we do go ahead and catch 1 shield. He's going to go ahead and get off that Power Up Punch, but we could let that go through. Not doing a lot of damage, but it does buff up that bite, obviously. So I throw off the Earthquake, and he will block, unfortunately for us. But at least we took both shields, so we got that going for us. I decided to bring in Poliwrath, as bringing in Dusclops would not be good. I do go ahead and pull off the switch because I wanted to save my Poliwrath for that Mawile. He gets off the Power Up Punch. We're not taking anything from that. And I charge up extra energy. He gets off another Power Up Punch. That's fine by me. Actually, it's an ice punch, excuse me. It's an ice punch. I thought it was a power punch, but it wasn't. And we'll get off a shadow punch, and we're going to be able to get off another shadow punch. And this is what I mean by Dustclops is basically a safe switch, and because we're going to be able to win this matchup because I will be throwing up the shield. Now, this was a mistake on my end. I should have let Dustclops fall and not worried about getting off a shadow punch, because now his Mawile comes in, and I'm thinking in the back of my head that was a huge mistake because I don't have the shield to block play rough, which is what I assumed he was going for. So I knew this was going to be a play rough because I have no shields as it is, and he does knock me out for that. And then we bring in Dustclops, which just falls to bite. But yeah, I should have let the Dustclops fall, feint his Pokemon with my Poliwrath, and then he would have brought in his Mawile. I would have had Poliwrath against Mawile, but I would have been able to block the play rough because I still would have had a shield. So I recognize that mistake immediately, but that is okay. It's okay. It's okay to make a mistake, isn't it? But yeah, we're using Bronzong right now against his Poliwrath, and as I said, Bronzong definitely wins this matchup. I mean, I guess if he got off a Hydro Pump and I wasn't expecting that and I let it go through, we wouldn't win the matchup in that situation, but we do go ahead and win that. He will bring in his Alolan Marowak, and because I've baited in the past, I decided to just go for the Bulldoze, and hopefully he falls for it. He does not, so he does use a shield, but at least we took a shield. I'm going to bring in my Poliwrath, go for the immediate power up punch just to boost my attack. Won't do much, but at least the bubbles will afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and block this. It is a Shadow Ball, so luckily for us, we do block that. I do get off my power up punch against his Mawile, so Poliwrath is definitely good against Mawile because we do resist his bite moves. Gonna get off the power up punch again and just continuing to try and knock it down, and I decide to not shield this because I knew he didn't have enough for play rough, so I wasn't really concerned about that. And then he brings in his Alolan Marowak. I do go for the Ice Punch. I probably should have just boosted my bubbles again with Power Up Punch because he does go for the shield, and he really had the shield at that point. So I guess Power Up Punch would have been a better play, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day because we still end up winning. So really good game, really good game. Really good game. So we're going to go ahead and jump into another one, of course. And this time I lead with Mawile. He leads with Probopass. So I didn't know how this matchup went. I thought that Mawile won because we do have the power up punch. I stopped attacking because I noticed that he started to lag a little bit. Then he goes and I start attacking, and I stop attacking because I noticed. So I'm not really too sure. It looked like he was lagging quite a bit. So maybe I got off a few extra bites. And if that's the case, I do apologize for that. But, you know, I was trying to stop attacking when I noticed it. It was kind of difficult to tell. But now everything seems to be going smoothly. He does get off his charge move, and instead of using both shields, I decide to let it go. And it is Thunderbolt, so he does do a lot of damage to me. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight for the power up punch just to boost my attack and do as much damage as possible before we fall to the opposing Mawile. I will bring in my Poliwrath. Even though Poliwrath was debuffed in terms of power up punch, I still like it for this format. I really do. But now it's Bronzong versus Claydol, so not really a great matchup for me. He does hit us with the Earth Power, and we're going to fire back, trying the bait, because I thought I may have been able to get to an Bulldoze, excuse me. I thought I might be able to, and we just get to it. I think I undertapped that to get to the Bulldoze, but he does block it, so it didn't matter. I could have bluffed, and we would have gotten the shield anyway. But then I bring in Poliwrath, and because he has no shields, Ice Punch will do a lot of damage to his Claydol before Confusion can do a lot to me. And now his final Pokemon is that Mawile, and looking pretty good for us because I still have a shield. Now, I knew this wasn't play rough, but I decided just in case I happened to be wrong, why chance it, right? Might as well go for the shield. I knew he wouldn't get to another one, so I might as well throw up that shield. But I was pretty confident because I was counting. I was pretty confident that wasn't play rough, but I decided not to risk it. For the next game, it's a mirror match against Steelix, so let's see what happens. I don't know if I bluff. Yeah, I do bluff. I do bluff the Crunch, hoping to take his shield because, as you remember earlier in the video, I did not bluff and went straight for the Earthquake, and he did block. So I'm going to go ahead and block this one as well, and it is a Crunch, so he does get me there, so nicely played. he actually gets off another move, and I knew because I was counting that this was not an Earthquake, so I wasn't worried about that. So I go for an Earthquake of my own, hoping that he would not shield. He actually does go ahead and shield, so nicely played. So my goal is just to go for the Earthquake, and we actually get off the Earthquake. I guess he was going for an Earthquake as well, but we managed to get to it, but he doesn't faint and gets off a charge move. So it's really unfortunate for us, but I decided to let it go through. We actually survived because it was not an Earthquake, it was a crunch. We would have been knocked out, obviously, had it been the Earthquake, but that's definitely good for us. I do bring in my Poliwrath. He brings in his Claydol. I'm going to pull the switch right out into Dusclops. Definitely favorable for me. We go ahead and charge up a lot of energy, get off that Shadow Punch, and as I said, it only takes 4 Hex to get the Shadow Punch as well as Fire Punch, which is why I really like Hex. He actually almost knocks us out, but we still managed to get to one more Shadow Punch, which will knock him out. So that's definitely good for us. And now the matchup you've seen in the past, it's Poliwrath versus Mawile, and you guys know how this goes. Mawile is not going to be able to beat Poliwrath unless we can get to a play rough. But at this point, I knew it really couldn't get to a play rough, and even if it could, I'm not going to take any chances because we still have a shield, so we block that. And we get off a power-up punch, and this is basically going to be the end of Mawile. And yeah, so that will be it for this video, guys. I will see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.